Hello,
And
I beat
yes, that was a ill-timed moment there, but I think we're able to rebound here. I apologize.
you. Just some time warp.
Yes, I was not being fully present in this moment, and how often does that happen? It's such a rarity for those of us who think we are human. How are you this morning, Devin?
I'm doing good. Unfortunately, it's impossible to not be present. That's good.
Yes.
Maybe aware of your presence, I guess.
Yeah, there's also that little bit of a time lag between what was, what is, and what will be, and we're always in the what is, but sometimes we're thinking about the past or the future, and that's what distracts us.
What was?
Yes, well, the wolf howling in the wolf howling in the background is one indicator as to what was. When we were running through the woods naked in the night and howling with the wolves, our primordial selves.
Hey, this isn't a wide shot. You can't tell I don't have pants on. Sorry. But I have pants on. Don't worry about it. Okay. I'm in the moment, man.
I assume we're looking at the chat room, and the chat room is having things that are somewhat distracting.
Gotta get out of this place. This guy's weird. Yeah, well, life, So we seem to be doing pretty well on YouTube, I've noticed.
Yeah, we're getting a good reaction from our listeners. Of course, if we don't stop just mindlessly babbling this morning, we'll tank our interest. So we're going to have to be clever here.
So welcome to the fold, my friends. Hello. Hello, thank you for tuning in, and let's see what Spirit has in store for us today. What is it?
Well, one of the things that's going on from my perspective is, and I'm seeing it more and more in the world I inhabit, which means that I'm needing more and more to look at it in my own inner world, in my own mind, is that fear that we all have of healing. And, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be in regards to healing the body, but healing the mind and healing the collective mind is a real issue. So,
yeah,
it
definitely. Oh, you got something to read? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say from chapter 27, this first paragraph is interesting. Is healing frightening? To many, yes, for accusation is a bar to love, and damaged bodies are accusers. They stand firmly in the way of trust and peace, proclaiming that the frail can have no trust and the damaged have no grounds for peace. Who has been injured by his brother and could love and trust him still? So that seems to be really very much in our face right now. I think everybody who's into the course, who's working with the course right now, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything without encountering a very frustrated public out there. Everybody is accusing everybody of attacking them, and that seems to be the way of the world here. That seems to be maybe a number one priority that we should all stop and give a little consideration to.
Yeah, it does, as far as the fear, and it does seem very present. It does make itself known, that's for sure. That just that resistance saying, no, 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 I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. I want to stay judgmental. I want to stay, in my lifestyle, how I have it. And I want, not to have to change or worry about anything else. I got too much on my plate. I'm just, but I want it the same. I don't want that. I want more peace. And it's funny that people desire peace, but don't see that as completely a way to get there. It seems instead that seems like a moment of, or a period of undoing where it gets really hard and troublesome. So even as the course talks about it, yeah, you have to go through this seeming hell experience in order to bring it all up and to start to process it correctly and apply the principles and to come to that actual transformation of consciousness and choosing to think in correspondence to the spiritual universe opposed to the reality of physicality. And while in my perception of it has changed, it's no longer that I really see people entirely afraid of it, even as I once was, and it was hard, and I would try and go through it and everything. But now I see it as a decision that really, they know the wholeness of truth. And as much as the wholeness of truth, and I do, and so there's an aspect that is deliberately making a decision for this world, for this experience. And even though we think it's upside down and backwards, like we don't want to know the reality of us, the whole kind of point of this experience is this seemingly escape from reality. It's not like we need to heal the little person in order to experience the ultimate vastness of the universe, because we are the universe experiencing this little person. And so this whole universe making a decision to quite literally experience me and to experience you is not, it's not going to make something that it's, you know, it has to fall succumb to, that it's not, doing on purpose, that it's doing it to itself. So when I look at people now, it's a totally different thing. I don't see them as fear, that they really have this fear of death or in fear of uh, dissolvement or ego destruction, or even though it is very apparent, it does seem, and it would come out as we go through a processing thing as well. But it's the recognition of my part, on my part, to see that, oh, they know everything. They know what they're doing. They see this, and they know the truth, and they're playing along with this. And we're deliberately doing this like actors on stage. We are taking on this character, but we remember there's an aspect of us, but the character has no idea that we're an actor, and the character is fully involved, fully enveloped in this. And so now I see, oh no, you're doing this to yourself. And I'm speaking to the universe. The universe is doing that to itself. All powerful creator of all existence can stop it at any time.
Right. And the real issue, I think, is again, that getting the thought anchored in our own consciousness. We dally with it, and we give it a little momentary consideration, and then we get distracted because something's happening in our political world, or something's happening in our religious world, or something's happening in our economic world, and we go back to that indulgence of entertaining the idea that we can be harmed, that we can experience lack, that we can experience all these various forms of fear. And so I think things are really amping up right now. I think we do have to collectively, as students of the course, really start to pay more attention to what's going on. Start to really be present and take the Course into every activity that we engage in. So
it's true.
And this weekend coming up, we're launching into the big celebration of America. The 4th of July is upon us. So there will be fireworks. There will be all sorts of amazing opportunities to get out there and dazzle ourselves and to enjoy this idea of freedom. And it appears right now that freedom is under pressure, under duress. So I think that we've got a lot of opportunities to get out and celebrate the true freedom, which is the release of our physicality, the release of our dependence on the constant conflict of fighting for peace and fighting for God, all of these little backwards ideas.
Yeah, it's like the mind training that's required is to question every last little thing that you're believing. And so you have to fit it into every single area of life, and trying to make sense out of it as far as with the principles. And it's really in correlation or in correspondence to perceiving the spiritual universe. And that's to say, really, that the spiritual universe is a representation of proper perception. And so if you're not trained in proper perception, you're not gonna be seeing it. And so that's kind of like the idea. So you take every subject and every means, and you have to be in tuned or willing enough to, instead of, as far as my understanding of what you're saying, getting distracted, is simply because you stepped out of that determination of training the mind, and you started thinking it was about something else. Oh, now I need to fend for my children's freedom, which makes sense to the body world, but it's kind of in the means of what's your goal in life. Is your goal really to have complete liberation from all death, pain, and suffering, and to know the ultimate Christ, creator of all the universe, and to know all God, or whatever you want to define it as? Or is it to fight for peace? Is it to make sure that your children's survival is worthy of this world, and the world's worthy of them? And even just tomorrow, what's going to happen? And as far as referencing to this body's condition and the death that's possible that could come, or the being bound or slavery or something instead of being free, it makes sense. It does seem, when you completely believe in this world, we got to do something, that's for sure. But if it's not the concern, if it's not the truth, then it's not the concern.
Yes, that whole idea of the truth, the search for the truth. Boy, is that ever a source of conflict in and to itself, because we have over 7 billion people on the planet and over 7 billion ideas about what truth is. So, when we look at A Course in Miracles, one of the early statements that were given is how this, the brotherhood of the Christ was shattered, was broken into so many billions and billions of fragments. And that's it in a nutshell, is that recognition that it's not the objectified universe, the objectified world we inhabit. That's definitely a secondary effect, where we have separate identities and separate objects, like trees and dogs and airplanes and all those things. But the real deeper part of it is to have fragmented our own consciousness, our own part of a collective that was serene and perfect. And yet somehow, as we're focused on that, there is still an element within the ego that really gets revved up when we think about a world without conflict. You know, it's like, well, that would be incredibly boring. For me, I have to have that daily confrontation on the freeway where I can express road rage, and I have to have that momentary, you know, period of being blocked because I don't have enough money to buy a new yacht and all of those things. So the ego is really insidious in its many, many ways of giving us a reason not to really embrace the idea of being at peace, of being in harmony, of being at a place where we are actually experiencing and expressing the presence of God, that serenity that God brings forth.
Yeah. And as far as the entirety of the universe, thinking how, you know, we think we're trapped in this body or something, that we're imprisoned, and we have this ego thing, and the knowledge of good and evil, and it does make sense that, you know, there's almost not even free will if you don't have this good and evil options to choose from. Even though there's still, you can do any of it, it doesn't mean it's good or bad or right or wrong. But as far as the perspective of even just taking that phrase of, instead of me experiencing the universe is experiencing me, and to understand that and to grasp that, it just throws you all the way out. That it's almost as if there is, let's say we took all the ideas of everything and put it all on a piece of paper, or however many papers, doesn't matter. One of those ideas, you know, to know everything on those, that one paper, let's say, one of those words, even in the English language, would be nothing. And to know nothing is kind of a whole nother experience. But you can't know nothing unless you find out that nothing to know is nothing at all. And it's kind of the experience of this life is in separation, is like, to know everything, you thought of an idea that would fit into everything what you think ideas would be. And one of them was separation and not knowing and fear and opposition. And so then this whole experience came about as, you know, in that simple idea, quite literally instantaneously became and ended at the same time. And this is quite literally the manifestation in that very instant of it, of simply thinking about it. Like right now that you're in an escape of knowing everything, but you're still doing it because you want to know everything, even though it's impossible. And even though it's just an idea, and even though within it, it's all illusions, but it's your attempts to think of all the possibilities and all the variations that, you know, the universe has to offer. And God's up there, you know, completely impartial, saying, yes, I love you. Yes, I love you. Yes, I love you. You know, God so loved his only begotten son that he gave him the world. It's pretty intense.
It is. And unfortunately, within that one mad moment, the world became a place of sacrifice. And, you know, only those who believe that they are separate are going to follow through with that idea of sacrifice. You know, it's the possibilities of being a victim are infinite and ongoing, and they're unfolding in so many different ways that are really ludicrous when you stop and think about it, because it's a struggle at times to maintain your victim status. You are, if your life is going reasonably well, then you're going to get revved up about chemtrails, and that way death is falling from the sky, and you're a victim of, airplanes and government policies. And I remember another good one was HARP, where they had this installation going on up in Alaska that we were all doomed. And the minute they turned on this amazing machine, it was going to eradicate the ozone layer, and we were all going to cook. And so victimhood shows up in so many ways, and there's so many ways to get people revved up about it. Vaccinations for your children, vaccinations for you, travel restrictions, not being able to go where you want to go. We're all in that cycle of victimhood right now. And again, I think part of it is just the fact that we've got the internet, and so we can share these ideas. We can pollinate each other with panic and fear. And again, that is a lot of what A Course in Miracles students are having to recognize is the gift of the internet is that we can share the Course. The curse of the internet is that things can come along and cause us to momentarily be concerned about our existence. And we have to really look out for that and talk to people about that and reassure people around that, and help them to get past that fear of all of these absurdities that we see out there floating around on the net.
True. It does kind of indicate what dimensional focus you're obsessed with, and it is very easy because the ego mind is only focused on the physical body's past, that when it speaks, it is concerned for its death, its demise. And so when you're also believing what it says and believing that the body is you, then it does, all of these concerns are very serious, and they actually make sense, and they actually give you reasons to be afraid of a gun, for an example, and which is just another silly idea. And even though it makes no sense to say that when you are, obsessed with physical bodies and that it is you. And there's a reason in the Course that so many of the lessons are saying, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me.
Yes, the body is definitely the one thing that we have created that is our ongoing torment. And we do seem to enjoy tormenting each other. And the other thing about all this, though, is that you have to realize that on the level of the ego confronting another ego, you're really not going to get a lot accomplished if you have this desire to convert or to change the mind of those around you by confrontation, because everybody that you're surrounded by is reading their script. And so they're immersed in something that they believe to be true. Like the dog believes that it should be able to eat the mailman this morning, and he would probably happily do that if I would open the door for him. Have to pardon the background noise. But I see all these people who get so angry and who are invested in so much condemnation of people that they're not in agreement with. And that's where the whole idea of forgiveness really comes through, is that we have to be able to completely overlook our own ego's response to people and just, step back into our serenity and be able to enjoy the peace that we have within us, and then to extend it to them. So we don't have to try to change their mind about, UFOs and chemtrails. What we have to do is change our mind about their beliefs and their identity that we imagine to be real, and just really surrender to the idea that this is a script. You're not going to change them by giving them facts, but you can change them by accepting them, forgiving yourself for having written the script, and just extend peace and, watch the change as it occurs.
Yeah, and how it's kind of worked out in my mind is within these 10 dimensions of reality, every single one of them are true. And that's kind of what I refer to as, it just depends on your dimensional focus. What do you want to be real? And so you can focus on any of them, and any idea of heaven or any religion. They're all talking about different variations of these different dimensions, and what, how, and who, and how many, and all that. And A Course in Miracles is quite literally a release from the fourth dimension, which is referred to as spirit prison, back into the conscious realization of the first dimension, which is the consciousness of Christ. And in order to do that, it has to be speaking from that first dimensional perspective that sees everything as an illusion, and it's creating it all. It became from its own thinking, from its beliefs, and it's speaking to this ego mind as if it's as if it needs some support, but really it's just an additional aspect of myself. And it's like, I'm going to just make up this idea of saving someone, but I'm going to have to be that someone to be saved. And as far as referring to like aliens and conspiracy theories, I mean, they do have their place within these dimensions. However, if your goal is conscious realization of what is referred to as God, then you have to think a lot differently and a lot further than that. If you actually want the peace of God, it's beyond chemtrails, it's beyond vaccinations, it's even beyond energy sucking crazy people. It's beyond the positive negative definitions of the energetic world and yin yang. It's beyond. It's pretty intense. You got to really want to go there. You got to go. You keep going. Nothing's gonna stop you until you find something captivating. You're like, oh, that's a nifty idea. I'm gonna stop here and check that one out for a while. Until you realize, no, it's not that one either. Keep going, until you quite literally come to the center of the universe, and nothing else is but God.
And what is it that is your motivation, your driving passion? I mean, we all have, to some degree, a reason for trying to attain a higher level of enlightenment. Your body gives you a lot of pain, or you're lonely and you're looking for a better way to live, or you've been broke for so long that you're just tired of it. And so, that adds to the energy that is propelling you forward. So what is it that's propelling you right now?
Me?
Devin? Yeah. Just as a curious idea here, what is it that's your motivational factor right now in your own evolution?
Well, ever since my death experience, it's all kind of turned around. And so now it's just, I'm here to represent or what's the word, express what seems to be being written in me, and simply being just this aspect in which I've been created to be, and just to represent. And so like my perception of it now is just simply being what I've been designed to be. I don't know how to exactly explain it more than that. But as far as Devin personally, that's all it is. It's like I'm just focused on God. And as far as maybe going into some goals or something, as far as me personally, there was this idea that was, as far as a temptation, the last temptation of this Christ idea was to come and have children and have a family and to experience that from this perspective. But when I had my death experience, it was as much as my life in my past flashed before my eyes in the conversation I had, also my future flashed before my eyes, and the grievance and resentment I accepted in order to return here was the fact that I wouldn't have experienced being a father and to have these children that I do currently. So as far as, but before it was, I was trapped. This world's happening to me, and now it's a deliberate decision of expression and experience. Like I'm here to, I'm the universe wanting to do this.
Right. And not even sure if there is a goal or an outcome. Merely being in that state of pure expression, pure experience, and knowing that the faster we get through it, the more we forgive it, the faster we resolve it all.
I don't even know if there's a goal to this conversation. I don't know if it's going anywhere or not. It's like it applies to everything.
Right. It's again the beauty of being able to just dialogue in the present moment without a lot of intention or without a lot of planning or expectation, is to just see what it is that comes through consciousness as it is seeking to express itself. And for me right now, I'm looking at all these different ideas that keep coming into my thought system around creating, well, first the website that I just got up and running that's pretty much devoted entirely to A Course in Miracles. And if people who are listening in want to take a look at something that's kind of groovy, go to www.themiraclewithin, all one word, .org. And my new website is up, and I'm always looking for ideas as to how to add to it or present to it. But that's, kind of one of my current little themes right now is I'm focused in on the idea of facilitating the spreading of the Course in ways that, I uniquely envision, just like you have your unique vision of the way to share. And
it's unique.
Dove Fishman has his way, and Lynn has her way. We've got all these unique rivers flowing into the one ocean, and so that seems to be very forefront in my thinking right now. And so I think we can have a passion and an interest and a goal, and at the same time continue to be in that state of non-attachment to the outcome.
Yeah. I mean, as far as projects, I mean, I'm loaded with projects all the time, and having things to do like website and everything. It's just, it like comes in as thoughts, and as first it's like a list, and then occasionally I'll have motivation all of a sudden to pick one of those out and to add to it and to see where it goes, and then maybe another one would come into my mind, and then it would come into the experience of expanding upon that one, and so on. And so it's like I have a lot of things going at once, but it's more like I'm just letting it be up to the spirit when it's going to happen, and if it's going to happen. I'm just willing to take the steps and really not seeing if there's a done factor to it, or if have I done it yet, or is it complete, or I don't know. I don't even know if it gets past that list part. Maybe it was just meant to be an idea that motivated you to the next idea. So I wanted to check with you. Is that themiraclewithin.org?
Yes, it's TheMiraclewithin.org, and it is. Well, it's got, all of the different videos I'm doing, the things I'm doing with you and with Barrett and Stephen, and then the interviews I'm doing, and kind of a soft launch into A Course in Miracles for people who, are curious but don't want to buy the book. So you can go there and get a little bit of an intro and get some ideas about what A Course in Miracles is trying to teach us. And at the core of it all is the idea of non-duality. There is no thee or me, him or her, up or down, right or wrong. It's all one existence, and it is God.
And if I do not go within, I go without. Right?
Yes. Well, actually, we don't go anywhere. We just stop going, and all of a sudden, we're overwhelmed by our magnificence and omnipotence. And that's, I think, the thing that is beautiful thing about the way we are set apart once we start engaging with the lessons in A Course in Miracles, is because we all of a sudden start to grow out of our smallness. We start to take baby steps in that direction of, wow, maybe maybe that spider over in the corner really can't kill me. Maybe I should go talk to the spider and see what the spider has to say.
Hello, spider.
Yes, I had a great time last night sitting out on my porch because my fireflies are starting to proliferate. And
I missed those. Not in Utah. We don't have any fireflies around here.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Fireflies are such charming little creatures. And so I was sitting out after a good rainstorm, and the fireflies are all trying to air themselves out, dry themselves off, and they're floating through the air and blinking with these little orbs of light. And I was having a lot of fun because every time one of them would blink, I would compliment him or her. I would say, that is absolutely exquisite. That is beautiful. And they would float over to my head. They would kind of circle around my head and give me this little light show, And when you start seeing the universe from that angle, instead of from the angle of, my God, there's something floating in the air, it's going to bite me and poison me, and I'll have to be rushed to the ER, yada, yada, yada. This whole world can be turned into a happy dream very, very effortlessly.
You get a strip tease from a light bug.
Well, that's there definitely was a certain element of what's the word for it? Flirtatious kind of element there. But again, it's all a part of reintegrating all of the different broken aspects back into the one. And that's part of the journey. That's the fun within the journey.
Sorry, I'm cutting you off. Sorry about that. Just a willingness to think about things differently in any form. It's the willingness to expand and just to open up to the symbolism and the movement of the Holy Spirit, and as it uses the symbols of your world, it just to experiment and to play along with the possibility of any fantasy being real, like fairies or unicorns or anything, just playing with that. And it can only lead to truth anyway. Every path does. So it's just like willingness to see beyond what people say is, this is all that's possible, and it's a constant, this is a law, you can't go out of it, and everything. Just the willingness to question your reality and say, yeah, maybe that lightning bug is pretty conscious, and maybe it's actually, we're having a conversation I don't even know about. It's pretty cool.
It is, and it's an ongoing journey. You know, there are those unrecognized conversations that we're having with every object and every individual in our surroundings, and we really have to stop trying to apply a meaning to them defined upon our own ego's needs. You know, and that goes back to that first lesson in A Course in Miracles, when we're coming to stillness and just observing things around us, and recognizing that we've given meaning to everything. We have defined everything, and thereby we have contained it, we have limited it, we have put it in a box, and because of that, we have failed to recognize the immense possibilities that everything in our universe presents to us because of our beliefs and our prejudices.
Yeah, it's like stopping to smell the roses, or stopping to talk to the spider, stopping to watch those fireflies. I mean, some people would not even notice them and just walk right by or keep doing what they're doing. You know, I have a goal of what I'm supposed to be doing. And, you know, I've definitely feel like that is something that's been happening in my mind is, you know, I have 2 kids I have to juggle around. I'm going to have to do it today, going to the store. And I have a goal of going to the store and of getting what we need to you know, eat. And we can't go to the store and get breatharians, right? No. And but to have that, you know, I have that goal. So it's like when I'm focused on, I have to maintain and contain a toddler from running all over the place and losing him. I'm running around with him as much as he is, and it doesn't exactly have a goal, you know. It's like he just wants to run around in circles and like, I gotta get the milk, you know, and all over the place. So it's fun, but I definitely see that. I used to I used to be completely aware of everybody around me and making eye contact with all these people, and but now it's a different experience. And I feel like, you know, I feel like I've hit a peak with all of that. Now, you know, I need to look at the world a little differently. So this having the children thing is a whole new different perspective for me, with whole new different healing things that I, you know, was unaware. You know, I thought I knew what patience was. I thought I was patient, and I still think I got patient, but not as much as I thought I had, you know. It's like only by doing it would I ever know uh, what is what I believe, you know. It's amazing.
Well, if you're gonna have kids, though, you actually picked a pretty good region, a pretty good supportive environment, because
True.
in an area predominantly Mormon, that is one of their primary tenets, is that whole idea of family, and putting children first, and making an environment that is supportive of being a parent. And so
Yeah.
the universe responded to your desire to parent very nicely by plopping you down in a place where you can reach out, and people will, you know, help you as you're having to stop and change the diaper on one little one. And somebody else to come along and say, oh, I'll take this one off your hands for 10 minutes while you get that mess cleaned up. So that's a good thing.
It's true. It's debatable as well, but it's true. uh, as far as the actual town that I'm in is called Orem, and it is Family City, USA. It has apparently the most and biggest families of all the country, which is pretty awesome.
It is. And, you know, having kids around you is a constant reinforcement of God's purity, God's remarkable capacity to just be without any needs, you know, beyond just maintenance of the body. I mean, the infant that you have, I'm sure you're still seeing those elements come forth where it is just pure spirit without a lot of attachments yet.
Yeah, he has gained an opinion, I think, of pain or something, but he is pretty pure, and it's pretty much expressing himself immediately. You know, I don't like that sensation. Well, I don't want to, don't leave me or something. And he lets you know, and there's no hesitation about it. And that's something that's good as well, you know, to be able to just speak and to just let it out, whatever you're being, just be pure, whatever it is. There's no right or wrong about it. And that's something that at the same time, I wish, you know, he knew, just be patient. I'm coming back, kind of the idea. But yeah, it's my lesson, not his, really.
Yes, but it is a gift, no doubt. And it's something that, you know, I'm sure there's going to be opportunities down the road to do videos with both of them. And those can be very powerful ways to share lessons around truth also, is to bring, you know, a 2-year-old into the loop and see what they have to contribute to whatever it is that's going on in the world that you're seeking to share with others.
It's true. I do post videos of the kids on Facebook often, but for some reason I haven't thought to do a whole lot on YouTube. I should be getting into that. It's true. You can make it into anything, into a lesson that, you know, God would have you learn, and all it takes is a little, you know, tweaking of your perception, and just what is God trying to teach me here? What can I use? How can I utilize this for the actual lesson here? Or, you know, what is it that I'm here to expand with?
Yeah, and kids are a great way to access, you know, that level of creativity, that level of the indwelling Holy Spirit within you that is giving you all these tools to work with. So anyway, as we are kind of coming down to the end of our hour here, is there anything this week that comes to mind that we should put a little more attention on before we wind up the show?
Oh no, you're the astrologer, right? So you're predicting the future.
Oh, okay. Well, astrologically, we've got some fun stuff going on. Actually, I should open up this window here.
All I know is that the world's coming to an end tomorrow, and let's see what happens. Just live today.
Well, it's all of it is definitely trapped in that illusion. But one of the things that's going on right now is we have Mars in Cancer at 17 degrees, and it is working its way up to an opposition to Pluto in Capricorn. And both of those planets give us the idea of volatility. Mars is the that image of, you know, the warrior, the attack mode, and Pluto is that process of vulcanization, bringing things up from the depth, bringing things up from you know, the core of our being. So the next 3 or 4 days could be a little bit what's the word for it, hypersensitive, I guess you could say, because we've got two very strong masculine energies in opposition to each other. And then to kind of fill that in, we've got Sagittarius, we've got Saturn in Sagittarius, and Saturn is the teacher, the great you know, communicator, and on that level. And it is still in square to Uranus in Aries. So all of these different configurations that are going on here are definitely lining up so that we're going to be seeing some fireworks apart from the 4th of July. We're going to see some fireworks in our own neighborhood. We'll see some fireworks on different places around the planet, because these opposing parts of our own subconscious, the collective subconscious, are going to be coming up for review. We're going to have to stop and think about these things.
I haven't actually studied or anything about astrology a whole lot, but it sounds like you're kind of just expressing symbolism of what it's showing you and where the positions are, and kind of putting the right symbols together. Is that kind of what you're doing? Like, it's more...
Absolutely. Everything in astrology. Now, see, this is one of those instances where people turn themselves into a victim of something. I've got Mars, squaring my natal sun, and so I don't have any energy. I'm going to lay on the floor for the rest of the day, and that sort of thing. And you can use astrology to create a victim mentality, absolutely. But you can also use it as an observational tool. And like you said, it's simply a bunch of symbols. And if we look at them with an open consciousness, we suddenly recognize, oh, this is, stuff that's going on inside my mind. These are actions that are occurring, like little neurons firing off, these sparks of thought that are creating the illusion of oppression or conflict or, vulnerability. And Pluto is a big planet for vulnerability, because it's going to pull that crap from the depths of your soul right up in front of you and serve it up on a plate. And so, we've got that kind of energy coming up. It's going to be a little bit edgy. And if you're participating in the collective, it's going to affect you. Now, of course, the way to resolve it is to recognize that I am not a body. I am free, and no bodies out there in space are going to control me or to overwhelm me. So that's how we look at astrology.
I'm not a celestial body. I am free.
Right, exactly.
So what does it mean with Mercury being in retrograde? I hear people complaining about that all the time.
Yes, well, Mercury is all about communication, and it also rules tech. So 3 times a year, it appears to go backwards because of the ecliptic of our planet in relationship to Mercury and its association with the sun. So there's these 3 times a year. It's about 3 weeks long each time. And a lot of times you'll notice massive tech failure. Your computer will explode, your coffee pot will stop working, your refrigerator, you come home and you have to throw away everything in the fridge because it stopped, and that sort of thing. But it's also a time when a lot of miscommunication occurs, and we have to go back and do damage control. We have to go back and get to that point where we understand that we're the ones who are creating this. This is not an exterior force that is making us confront these things. We have to look at it as, why am I, failing to follow through? Why am I not communicating everything that needs to be said?
I thought it was funny when I noticed that there was 9 planets, and even without Pluto and that Mercury, not Mercury. What am I talking about? The in between Mars and Earth, there's the
asteroid belt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But someone told me that used to, or could have used to be a planet, or is going to be a planet or something. And I thought it was interesting that it lined up with my family so well, that I'm the 7th out of 9, and that's, Saturn. It's my favorite one. And the fifth child of my family was birth didn't go well, stillborn, and he, was obliterated. It's like planet would. And I saw the symbolism lining up with the planets, and I'm like, wow, that's very interesting. I even thought when my eldest brother died, I'm like, oh, Mercury is going into the sun now.
Yes, and returning to the source of all light. That's appropriate. Yes, and the asteroid field probably was just a bunch of debris that could have been collected into a planet, but for some odd reason, it never occurred. You know, the idea of a planet that had exploded. A lot of science disputes that idea. It's more likely that it was just leftover stuff from the creation. But from an astrologer's point of view, I'll make this real fast because we're running out of time. But from an astrologer's point of view, you have the inner planets, Mars, Earth, Venus, Mercury, and the Sun, and those are all dealing with personal experience, you know, the stuff happening within you. And then there's this barrier of the asteroid belt, and then we have the outer planets. We have, you know, Saturn and Jupiter and Neptune and Uranus and Pluto, and these are all focused on societal issues, the world outside of the personal self. So there is this demarcation, the seeming demarcation astrologically between the inner worlds and the outer worlds. And any astute astrologer is going to make you aware of that.
And, you know, if it helps you to see, then I think it's beautiful. That's all I need. And thank you, my one feathered friend. Do you mind me calling you that? That's fine.
Not at all. Actually, I was going to go out and preen my one feather in the sunlight today here if we get an interruption from rain. But it was definitely delightful, Devin. I appreciate and love you, and reconvene in a week.
Yeah, thank you. Have a beautiful day. Thank you all for being here.